um, any type of future questions that you may have, I can address them.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Vivek. How are you?
Good, good, good. How's sunny Scottsdale?
We're doing great.
Awesome. Let's just jump right into it. So, from what I gather, you guys will be importing a database. You have a list of obviously email addresses, first and last names. Send out an email invite to them to join the panel. Is that the primary model for kind of getting people into the door?
Correct. Redley has that database currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's actually so I'm logged into your account actually right now. So as you can see over here, this is your account. Uh, so setting up a panel, we've tried to make it as simple as possible, but the idea would be you can go ahead and create your own panel if you wanted to, but we've created this one for you guys. And in your case, do you plan on expanding the panel in terms of, do you see people just coming in and signing up directly? Let me just ask you a side question.
At this point in time, no. We'd like to keep it relatively contained since we don't have a lot of experience with it.
Mm-hmm.
But it may be that in 6 months from now,
Mm-hmm.
not only will we want to refresh the panel with people who drop out,
Mm-hmm.
but we may also want to expand it. But at this point in time, no.
Got it. Okay. So we have both options. I mean, I think I'll present both of them to you. The primary model for importing users is just using an Excel spreadsheet, and as long as the format matches up to a first name, last name, and email address, we should be able to import it fairly easily. We just set up a.
Can we? Are those required fields? Can they be changed?
What do you want to change them to?
For example, in the current database, basically all I have is email addresses.
Yeah, so first and last name is not required, by the way.
Okay.
As long as you don't reference first name in any of the emails, because we have these dynamic templates that you can use, so obviously it's not going to work because we don't have the name in
So
the
those can be changed those can be changed based on what the fields are in the database.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is, once we import the data, it comes into our database, right? And then potentially the user can come and update his profile, which I don't think is going to do, unless you tell them to do it, they're not obviously going to come and do it.
Okay.
That's how typically we work. So which means you wouldn't need if you just have an email address, you just then it becomes even more simpler. Just
Okay.
spreadsheet together with the email address in the first column and upload it. Once emails are uploaded, you will see them over here, as things come by. So for example, you can just actually add email address over here. Directly. I think this will also work with first name and last name. There we go. So obviously this new address that I added does not have a first and a last name. Uh, uh, so that this would mean that this user does not have a first name, last name. The only thing I would say in the double opt-in verification, do you guys want? I mean, we actually make this kind of optional, but do you want to? And this is something that we can kind of, in terms of design, we can think through. One of the things to do is to kind of obviously verify those email addresses, because many times we kind of get into kind of clients where nobody knows whether those email addresses are any good, or where we stand with respect to email addresses. So we have this this idea of double opt-in verification, which is as soon as you upload this email, you see I would have got an email right now over here, yeah, to verify the account. So this allows us to make a distinction between verified users and people whose email addresses are suspect. What's your take on that? Do you guys want to do that or not want to do that? Because we've had clients actually go both ways, so we're gonna keep it fairly open.
Well, I guess really that would be a question to you. I know we talked about it, and I know that a lot of these email addresses that we got through Peter Piper were Yahoo and MSN and Hotmail accounts. I think if we verify that, does that drop a lot of those accounts?
No, I don't think so. I mean, all it does is sends out an email to the user, and the good thing is you will know that these guys are real users, right? People, if somebody, if the idea is somebody's dropping in an email address, in the pizza shop, right? Just dropping it in the, as a.
Oh, well, then at this point, we are basing it on the assumption that these email addresses are users because we got this, directly through Peter Piper and their database. We're not going to be doing a whole lot until we start looking at adding new members either through their website. Are we going to need to be verifying at that point?
Right. So the process that I would suggest we follow is initially when you're uploading it, disable this. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So otherwise, everybody you upload will get this email address, right? So if you upload 20,000 emails, then 20,000 people are going to get this email address, which
Okay.
will get this email really for the verification email. Once this is disabled, then the verification email won't go out. That makes sense?
Okay.
Yes, makes sense.
So and then later on down the road, when you are ready to get people directly in, then you enable this back on. Then you say, well, okay, any new guy who comes on, if if I can give Mark at Waggle Labs, you'll get an email saying that, hey, somebody's trying to register as me. So that's kind of the biggest problem when people are just signing up on behalf of other people. But I don't think so. In the short term, you don't need to do that, obviously, because you have, you trust the database that you have. But in the long term, after your initial upload, I think it'll be smart for you guys to just enable double opt-in so that the future emails and future kind of as people sign up on their own, and it's primarily for kind of self sign up really on the web. When people go in and sign up, then they'll get an email saying that, hey, are you who you say you are? Can you verify your email address? You click on that, so that gives at least at a minimum that your quality of data improves in terms of people coming into the door. So future surveys only go out to verified users.
Okay.
So that's kind of the import process of getting people into the door. I want to talk a little bit about just the site kind of, at least I guess initially we are not gonna, you don't expect people to go to the website and kind of do any kind of points management. Or what's the thought process behind that? Have you guys thought of that, or are you guys looking to us to give you some ideas on what we can do?
Ask the question again.
Beg your pardon?
What was the question again?
So in terms of compensation and our points, what's your thought on it?
Well, for example, when we get these people and we're going to be doing an initial study, what we would like to be able to do is, yes, we would like to reward them, and it will be in the form of a coupon and then also a drawing.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of a coupon, do you want to give out a coupon to everybody? I guess you could give out a coupon to everybody, right? I mean, that wouldn't make.
Yes, we would like to.
Yeah, it's for actually a free pizza.
Okay. All right. It's actually a free pizza. That's pretty good.
And here's the thing: is we don't want everyone that signs up to get a free pizza. We want everyone that completes a study.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
To get a free pizza. So the coupon won't show up until after they have been qualified as a completed survey.
Right. I think the slight amount of we'll have to think about a little bit of how to kind of put that model in place to and I think it can be done. It's actually not that far apart. Typically, what we do is kind of go with some sort of a point system, where the point gives you kind of relatively arbitrary currency, if you will, right? So you can determine, you take, if you're running a very large survey, or you want to give out something more than that, then you give out more points, and then lower surveys get lower points, and you determine how many points go out to a coupon or free pizza, really. So it gives you that fine-grained control. In this case, we've set this one up, for example, if a new user signs up, and this is not going to be very critical, at least in the initial stages, but later on this becomes critical. When people sign up on their own, this becomes essentially a compelling reason for signing up. You get points, and the points then get translated to pizzas, really, right? And that's kind of the marketing message that can be driven uh, in terms of getting people into the door, 6 months down the road. At least initially, you have this, typically we get clients who do not have a database, really, so they're building it out from scratch. So there's got to be some sort of an incentive for users to show up.
The major incentive is there will be a drawing for 2 $100 American Express gift cards. That's going to be the biggest draw. But
Okay.
To thank each and every one of them, they will receive a coupon, and we would like to be able for them to click on something on the website, make it really easy. So all they have to do, click here to receive your coupon. They can click on it and then print it up. But we need to make sure that we do not allow them to click on it several times and print up 10.
Okay. We'll have to think about that part. I'll go through how we do the point redemption, and then we'll have to figure out how to kind of match this with what you guys are thinking about.
Okay.
Before that, this one, so obviously you guys have designed the surveys, and this is not necessarily important right now, but as time goes by, if you want users to come there directly, so this is where you would set up some of the marketing content as to, okay, if you want to kind of sign up directly, then you would come here to this URL, and I think it's TalkPiper or micropanel.com. I mean, you can pick any URL, just like every survey has its own URL. Every panel also has its own URL, and you can customize the content of that site. We call these kind of micropanel sites, really, which are essentially about 3 or 4 pages that talk about different things. You have a little contact page, an about page, a fact page, what is it, what are you looking for? That gives people some context that they're part of the panel, and that is primarily the reason why we have this. In your case, I don't think you're gonna. I guess you're gonna start off with the panel. You're gonna start off with kind of an email blast, and then start off with actually delivery of surveys to those users. So they don't necessarily. So there are 2 ways. One is users can come and log into their account and then take surveys, or if you get an email, they can just take the survey from the email itself. If you're driving through an email model, then you don't necessarily need to make a whole lot of content, but at least you can obviously make some basic content changes, because if the users do come up over here at the end of the day to claim the rewards, then obviously there's something here. Go ahead.
Just so that you have an idea of what we're doing, we aren't actually going to ever ask them to log on. They will always receive an email for the new study that we are going to be doing. We're not going to actually have them log on periodically when they have a chance. It'll be very specific times spent with a very specific study in mind, and it will be, each study will have its unique email blast.
So let's talk through that. So first of all, in terms of kind of email preferences, in terms of where the email comes from, you can obviously set those up to say, here's who's it coming from, really. You can set that up and say, all emails for this panel come from, this particular person. And then let's go through the new invitation process. And before that, we need to set up email templates. Go through this process a little bit. So these are, do you envision having different templates for different surveys, or is it going to be a group of templates that you can just use?
Now, the surveys will be different
Mm-hmm.
for each particular period,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be 3 different subgroups of users within the panel. So we may at times want to do a survey just to people who dine in, or we may at times want to do a survey just to people who have parties there. So we'll have 3 different segments of users within the panel. Right now, yep.
And I'm assuming Pepper Pizza will give you that information as to what kind of a person that email address is.
Well,
Right.
the first order of business is to profile the panelists and to establish quotas for each of the subsegments. So within the database of 28,000, we're going to want to zero in to only get to our, 900 people? Yeah, to only get to our 900 people. And therefore, as we collect surveys, they will get grouped into the appropriate behavioral segment. So the first survey is really a profiling survey, so we can monitor who goes into each behavioral group and what are the demographics and psychometrics of those 3 groups.
Yeah, Mark, let me tell you how this is typically handled in the panel management system. We're probably making it a little bit more complex than it is. Basically, your profile is typically your segment as far as how you pull that information as you're sending out the survey invitation. So if in your profile you identify individuals as diners or whatever that might be, that's how it is segmented. So when you pull out a survey and you send out an invitation, and then you'll be pulling out based on those metrics.
Right.
So for this, yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So what we would do is something to this effect: is dining experience. And
Well, is this right? You're doing this right now. Are you doing this as a new user, like a new panelist, or are you doing this as me, say, Mark or I? Okay, so I guess what I need to do is I need you guys to back up and explain to me, when the users log on, what information do they need? How do we register them first, just as a panelist? Doesn't matter what segment they're going to be in, but how do they register, for example, gender, first and last name, because we don't have that for all of our database members' records.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm saying is they're not going to automatically be segmented. That's why we're doing the initial study, and so that we can go in and segment them, and then once we have that data, we'll be able to categorize them accordingly within the panel. So we're starting from scratch, and we need to be able to register them and then have them complete the study.
Right. So I think the disconnect over here is nomenclature, really. So when you say complete the initial study, in our mind, it's essentially filling out their profile. So we make a distinction between studies and profiles, because profile fields are used for future studies, really. Okay. So
right.
Yes, and the profile questionnaire has I don't know how many questions to it, but a lot of behavioral questions, and then the demographic questions, and that makes up their profile.
Correct. So I think we're talking the same over there. So it's the only question is nomenclature in terms of how you visualize it and how the system is set up, really. So profiles in our mind is different than a survey. So a profile, essentially, because obviously you're using the profile for future surveys, right? If you assume a survey equals a study, then so we call these things profile fields, so you can just say, okay, here are the different fields I want. I want the first name and last name are kind of core fields, and then you say I want the zip code of this user, and you just choose the zip code as is almost like setting up a survey, except that it's not really a survey, and you can set up these profile fields. So once you have this profile field set up, when the user, again, you don't necessarily send out a survey to the profile field, but user comes in, logs in, and then and he sets up, he updates his own profile. So when the user is in here, here's how we envision the first time around.
So is that a forced? Like, do you force them to fill out the profile information once they have clicked the link on the email?
Yeah, the typical process is the verification email. Remember that part that I talked about, email verification? The clicking on that link automatically puts you in over here, and over here, if your profile is not filled out, which in this case is not filled out, then you come over here, saying that, hey, you need to fill out this profile experience right now. This is, you could call this a survey, but really it's, either way, it doesn't really matter. And the user has to come in and fill this profile out. And the good news is, obviously, they can come in and update this profile over a period of time. That's why we can make that big distinction between a survey and a profile, because a profile, if you step back and look at it, is an updatable entity, whereas surveys are kind of one shot. You come take the survey and you don't get to go back and take the survey again. So
yeah,
that's
I think this is fine. I think we just have to change from our end what we were doing, because we were putting the first survey and the profile together, and we obviously need to split that out. So we need to make sure that we construct the profile
in the profile system.
Yeah, the profile specifics that will get to what we need to get to.
Correct.
Because our biggest issue, our biggest challenge with the client is to make sure that we've got our 3 behavioral groups pretty well identified at the outset of what we're doing. So we just have to make sure that's part of the profile process.
Correct.
Okay, no problem.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's a little bit of nomenclature. I mean, I think in our, if we can, and we can make some adjustments over here too. So, and I think what we could potentially do for you guys would be almost, since we are not doing double opt-in verification, have a model where we can just send out a message to all the users just to update their profile, which effectively is the same as asking them to fill out your initial survey, really.
I have a question. Let's go back to verification. Is the verification meant to just verify the email address, or is it meant to, I think you just said, the double opt-in? Because if it's for the double opt-in, we want to use it because we want to make sure that everybody has agreed to participate in the panel, and we're not going to run into any kind of spam issues.
That's precisely the reason we have it. Like I said, we've had customers go both ways. And if you're getting just an email database, I think the challenge would be, if you're pretty confident that all those 20,000 people have opted in to get surveys, then we don't have to do the double opt-in. But if you're not confident, I think the smart thing to do is to let them know, like, hey, we got, you're part of this panel. If you click here to verify, and you'll get a free pizza, and you'll get to be part of it. Do you want us to keep sending you more surveys in the future? And that's what this really does. If you enable double opt-in, then I think from a process standpoint, the benefit you get is that when they click on the link, they're directly taken to the profile update screen, because obviously that's the next thing you want them to do. They'll come here directly and say, hey, I want to update my profile. Please update your profile. And again, we're kind of, and you can set up, and we've had great kind of, a good, process model where we set up even for profiling. Actually, it's not there, but we'll add, I think it's not there in this system, but we'll add this in a minute. to say you get points for updating your profile also. So it's kind of a little step by step. You keep them engaged in a way where you keep giving them points for every little small thing they do. And at the end of the day, you control it really, right? 100 points gets you a free pizza, and so you verify your email address, you get 20 points. You update your profile, you get another 25 points, and you fill out your first survey, you get 70 points. So there you go, you got your free pizza. That's that model, where there is there's something, a little bit of breadcrumbs throughout the process, gets maximum engagement, and gets people really dialed in terms of get, making sure that they actually go through and fill out the profile really. I understand your part about the sweepstakes and kind of the monthly drawing. I think that's kind of the icing on the cake, but the immediate rewards that people see, and we didn't, like for example, we didn't have this particular, just even this point section earlier on, and once we added that in, we got a ton of positive kind of feedback as to people are seeing points getting added in. So what if you can afford to do the double opt-in verification, my suggestion would be that we go ahead and do it. It'll obviously reduce the number of people who are in your database, but then it'll also reduce future problems for you if out of those 28,000, because you're going to be sending out emails to almost all of them, or maybe people who just fill out a profile. You can then say, well, we sent out, we uploaded an email list of 28,000, 1,000 people clicked on the link and verified their email address. So that you're good to go with those 1,000 at a minimum. From a CAN-SPAM Act law perspective, these people have said yes, it's okay for you to send me surveys. I think that's where the disconnect might be, because they might have given the email address under the context of something else, really. May or may not be under the context of surveys. They must have given the email address under the context of something else, like, hey, you know what, you're gonna deliver something else to me. And this at least covers your bases to some extent, to say, well, not only we sent you a single email in the beginning of the year, and then you opted in, and then it's part of the system, and from a tracking standpoint, when the user clicks on that link, we know exactly that the user clicked on it. We know the IP address and so on and so forth. So if there are issues in the future, we can go back and say, look, we know that, John Smith, clicked on the link. He agreed to receive future surveys. So if he, after 3 months, he starts yelling up and down and starts making noise about the fact that you're sending him surveys, that problem can be mitigated by just having that double opt-in verification on the front end. The obvious counterpoint to that is, hey, you know what, you'll get a fewer number of people obviously clicking on the link, and that's why we can do that's why we can obviously emphasize on the marketing effect of making sure the users understand what they're in for, what they're getting. They'll get a free pizza. They'll obviously get that $100 gift certificate, and so on and so forth. So as long as that message in that initial email that we send out is kind of very abundantly clear over here that this is what we're doing. Click here, come join us. It'll work out. It has worked out for the most part for most of our clients. So the process potentially could be, if we enable double opt-in, when they click on the link, they will be coming to this page over here, and this profile can be pretty much whatever you want, really. Frankly, I mean, this is okay. Like you just tell me set it up, just like it's exactly like setting up a survey, really. Except you're just adding profile fields, and you just choose the profile field type. You say, okay, I'm looking for a single text box or a zip code or a multiple choice question, and then we have some standard demographic questions that we are adding into. They're very kind of standard format questions, really. So you can just choose any one of them, and those all will be there. So as you keep adding profile fields, these things get added. The other advantage, guys, there's one more big advantage of using this profile model versus a survey for kind of doing the profiling is, in the future, you can update the profile. So 3 months down the road, you say, well, I think we need to collect this other piece of data. Then it becomes mind-blowingly easy, because you just come in, update the profile, and then when the user logs in, he just sees, say, hey, you've not filled out this one piece of data. We got everything else. We got the zip code, we got the dining experience and everything, but we don't have a piece of data. Then you can do these kind of backfilling models where users come in and fill out one component of the profile later on down the road. Whereas on a one-shot survey, that would be almost impossible to do because that becomes a one-shot experience. Let me
So far,
go ahead.
so far we totally agree that we need to do the double opt-in. We think that's a great recommendation, and we should do that. We totally agree with doing the profile, and we'll have to work with Rudley to make sure we have all of the appropriate questions we need in the profile. We're going to do the email-only model at this point in time for the invitations to take subsequent surveys. The only issue I have so far in the discussion is whether or not we do a point system. All along, we've said that we weren't going to do a point system. The client has asked us about it and feels that a point system may be complicated and may lock them in to a certain way of doing it, which is why collectively we thought that the coupon and drawing was the best way to go for the first, at least to get the thing up and running. So that the point system is still, I hear your recommendation loudly and clearly, but we're still not, we're going to have to go back at the client to get a point system sold in because they weren't in favor of it to begin with.
I think I've had this discussion actually with other people. I think the smart thing to do is, it's not the points give you flexibility in terms of currency. That's my biggest kind of argument to that, is that, you know, you don't need to, you know, for signing up you can give out points and you can give out the reward also immediately, right? So when you go to click my rewards, so you can say I want to give out, you know, in this case we can set up rewards in, you know, any different way we want. We can set up, you know, a coupon, or, you know, as long as you have the HTML for it, you can have the image, and you can say, well, here's the image for a coupon, and you can pretty much say whatever you want. This is just an example of what we've set up, but the idea would be you can give out a coupon just for signing up. You can give out a coupon for, you know, it's tied back to points, but you control the number of points that go out against it. It's still points, agreed, and I will totally, you know, give you that in terms of it's not a kind of clean cut like, hey, take the survey, get this coupon. You know, obviously I'm introducing another layer of interaction over here. Take the survey, get 10 points. 10 points get you a coupon. So I don't disagree with the fact that that adds to the complication or kind of the thought process behind it. But I would strongly suggest that you know, in the long term, that has, you know, obviously you know, flexibility for you as the business has a lot more flexibility.
I don't disagree with the flexibility issue, Vivek, but the concern from the client is that once you, let me finish, once you start putting out points, that then you have a inventory of points that are out there with your panelists that are going to accumulate over time, that are actually going to have a cost associated with it. What we do know is that if we send out a coupon for a pizza, you know, some people will redeem it, some people won't, but we know what the maximum out-ability cost is of that. The concern is that the point system, as you said, is like currency, and what is the maximum possible cost impact of all of these points or currency values being out there over time. And it may be that in the first 6 months, the potential cost of redeeming all this currency or all these points is not bad, but over a year or 2 years, what happens if all of a sudden there is a big redemption number that they've got to put into a budget that they didn't have budgeted? So the issue is points have a tendency, like frequent flyer miles, you know, once they get going, they get going. And while it is interactive and it is engaging for consumers, the client is really worried about the long-term cost commitment of the currency and the points.
Got it.
And if we can help them figure that out, that would be great. But I haven't been able to help them figure that out yet.
How about expiry dates on points? I mean, I think this is what this. I mean, this is not a. I mean, obviously a new problem. I mean, everybody's got this problem in terms of anybody who's giving out any kind of you know, point-based model. has always, I think frequent flyer miles used to do it, but they kind of do it less often now. But even today, I think my version 1 expires in 2 years of inactivity. And that's how I think they limit their liability on the point system, to say, well, okay, my maximum liability. I mean, right now the maximum liability you have is 10 points distributed to 3 people. So at any point we can actually tell you from a technical standpoint, we can tell you that we've distributed X number of points.
Sorry about that. I just had to go talk to the postman.
Okay.
I think what I'd like to do is, if we could, for this first one, have the pizza coupon and the drawing. And I know the client is out this week on vacation. As soon as the client gets back next week, we will resurrect this conversation and talk about the point system and see if we can figure out a way to deal with it. I like the idea. I think it makes sense for the consumer to keep them engaged, but we have to figure out how to minimize, as you say, with expiration dates or some other vehicle, some other way, the cost, the potential cost downside of points.
Yeah, I think it's a financial liability, and I agree with you on that. It's a kind of if I were running it on the other side, then I would actually have to think about my financial liability against this, because it's actually it's at least promised compensation, if you will, right? Let me ask you another question around a more technical question around the coupon. So the free pizza coupon, right? Is that a unique coupon code, or is it a standard coupon code, or can you help me understand how or what will actually transpire?
It would be a unique coupon code just for panel members who have completed the profile and our first survey.
And is it unique per person, or is it just, hey, here's the XX321 is the coupon code that Piper Pizza is giving Waggle Labs?
I think it's one coupon code for all panelists, not unique per panel member.
Got it.
Can you do it unique per panel member?
Is that a question to me, or?
Yeah, that was a question to you guys.
I think the way we can do, I think we can do both. We can definitely do where we say, here's the coupon code, and we can track the distribution of those coupons we typically use kind of a more, I think we can use the same kind of the Amazon model where, you upload a coupon code, and in your case, it'll be the same coupon code, and we can just put, 100 items in stock, and that's fine. And that's another way we control kind of the output. This is another kind of axis that we control for some of the other panels that we run. We limit the number of items in the reward model, really, to say, like, look, even if you have 2,000 points, here's what's available for you to pick up against those 2,000 points. And at any one point of time, I can control, whether I give out an Amazon gift certificate or whether I give out movie tickets or whatever I give out. So one axis is obviously the points. I can determine, okay, and a $10 Amazon is worth 100 points or 700 points or whatever it is I feel it's worth. And then the other axis that I can control it on is the number of items that I have available. So almost going to get this the idea of shopping cart model. Okay, here's the price and here's the items in stock, really.
But until we're able to convince our client on the point scale, the screen you have up now, couldn't it just say one free large one-topping pizza, forget the point system, and then have that icon that says redeem here?
Well, we can't really forget the point system. What we can do is say, you definitely get 10
well, for
points.
this next week, when we want to launch next week, we aren't going to be able to set up a point system for this first go around. We would love to be able to say yes, that's going to happen in the future, but that's not going to happen next week.
Let me intervene here for a minute, Chris and Mark. So we could probably. I'm wondering if we're talking the same language as far as the redemption and rewards are concerned. When it comes to rewards, there are a couple ways that you can do it, and hopefully we're not treating this as a fulfillment center, so to speak. I think what we initially talked about is we can upload an image of whatever coupons that you want to use, which I think we can still do because we have an image library. The other thing is when based on how you guys are doing this as far as incentivizing the panel members, if you're not using a fulfillment company, it's to look at the data file after you complete a survey, which would be the easiest thing. In your invitation, you can say everybody who completes the survey get a free coupon. And then after you get all the completes in your data file of all your survey, and then you email them and send them that coupon with that image, whatever it is. Especially since you're doing a one unique coupon, it's not unique per panel member. So that's typically how that's handled. But the system is not, I mean, we have a backend that connects to Amazon as far as redemption, but the system does not go in and managing fulfillment for any type of reward structure that you put in place, so to speak. So similar to if you wanted to do a drawing. I mean, basically you can handle that. I'm assuming, Chris, you would be managing the panel. You can do whatever form of drawing if you wanted to do, but that's something you control with your data file, so to speak. Does that make sense?
So what we would do is actually...
so basically it's just what we're going to do is we're going to need to email whoever completes it.
Right, because you're only using one coupon anyway, and you need to verify who completes the survey sometimes just to make sure everything is on point. And you are using a very unique coupon from a pizza shop. So the best thing to do, day one is to say, okay, I've completed survey on diners, and I look at my data file, everything looks kosher. I have 300 people who completed the survey. We review, and they seem legit, and we email all 300 of them a coupon that they can print out and do whatever they want to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we have no issue doing it that way. It is different from what we talked about originally, but as long as we are capturing which panel members complete the survey, and we'll be able to send them an email with a thank you. I think
that's in your data. That's in your data file. That's in. I think I was waiting on you, Mark, to send me. What we talked about is that the system, you can upload any type of image as far as the coupon based on the rewarding structure. But I never did receive that. But
that would fall under the image library, correct?
Right. But at the same time, this is not a fulfillment center. In other words, if you wanted to work around giving respondents, sandals, for example, that has specific IDs and things of that nature, that you would have to go to a fulfillment center for that. This is part of the panel management as far as tracking historical data on survey participation, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the rewarding structure, the incentive model still tracks all of that. But once you start having unique information that needs to be customized, then you're looking at something different. But the coupon still, you can still upload an image and then, however you want to use it. But for the purposes of what you're trying to accomplish, it's usually, in my experience, it's usually handled through the data file. Anytime you have custom or specific things with drawing, you may want to do a 1 out of 50, 2 out of 100, 3 out of 100. You could not possibly create scenarios for all the different type of drawing or incentive structures that you want to run. You want to run on a panel.
Okay.
Yeah, so doubling it up on that, what you would do is on the survey side of things, you would actually get a report on the survey of all the people who've completed the survey, and the email address of the panel member will get copied over there. So
Right.
you get, Excel spreadsheet of all the survey responses with an email address, of course, on it. And then when you're there on the survey side, you can, then take that Excel spreadsheet and you'll have, of course, that, Vivek completed survey. Obviously, you have the data file for the survey. Then obviously he's completed that survey, and then you can determine whether you want to do a point system or and you handle it outside the context of the panel management system. We can track the points and everything, and maybe we don't use the points really at the end of the day. That's fine. But in terms of delivering the coupon, it can be done in two ways. One is at the end of the survey itself, you can just show them people who complete the survey. You can just put an image at the end of the survey, and that image is the coupon. That is not.
Let me ask you this. I will be able to use the panel management system to email blast all those people those coupons, correct? So I can put images in my email of that coupon and be able to use your system with the Talk Piper email address and blast that out that way with an image of the coupon so that they can print it up from their computer.
I think even better. I mean, at the end of the survey, you could just give them the coupon, right?
Right.
Well, that's what that was our original question.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we thought we were
Yeah,
originally.
you can place it at the end of the survey, yes, as an image.
Yeah.
But
that
so
can
after
be
they-
handled on
but-
the survey side itself.
But only after they have answered the final question, and then it's a valid completed survey.
How's the difference between a valid and an invalid complete survey? I'm just kind of curious.
For example, if they never push the last button, it's not a valid survey.
No. I was thinking a valid completed. What's the difference between a valid and invalid completed? Both of them are completed. Anybody who completes the survey gets it, right?
Yes.
Okay, good. So you can just put it right here. Right here in the thank you page for the
Oh,
image.
finishing options. There we go.
There you go.
Perfect.
So you just paste in an image of HTML image over there or whatever, and you're good to go. So the only time
Perfect.
that anybody gets to see this page is after they've completed the survey.
Perfect.
Right.
That's exactly what we needed.
Okay.
All right. In terms of, I want to go over this really quickly. We set up the email invitation template earlier on, and that's that template over here. And then you can say I want to choose any one of these, any one of the surveys that you have in your system can be sent. And then you can choose the survey. Go through this process. And this is where you get to kind of sub-select based on okay, this is the total number of users I have in the database. You can just say, well, I don't only want to send out the survey to the takeout guys or the dine-in guys, and this is where the profile thing actually gets used. And this is really dependent on the number of items you have in your profile. Right now, we don't segment on this zip code, but that's one of the things that we'll be adding in the future is to say localization and saying we only want to send out surveys to certain physical locations. So
Yeah, that's okay for us.
Go ahead.
That's okay for us.
Okay. Yep. You can do a couple of other kind of filtering models. I don't think you guys are going to use it that much, but as your panel really grows, if you really want to do it, to say people who've signed up in the last month, and this is really again for self sign up really. So, after 6 months, you say, hey, I want to run this project, but I really don't want to send it out to everybody. I just want to send it out to people who signed up in the last 2 months or the last 3 months. I want some fresh data because I introduced this new pizza in the last quarter, and I want to figure out what's going on because obviously it doesn't make sense for people who've not signed up before that. I mean, any different number of ways. And these are just kind of filtering models that we can place to say, if you want to, outside the context, okay, if you have a very large database, then you don't want to send out a survey to everybody, and you can start making intelligent decisions about people who are more engaged, people who've accessed the system in the last 30 days or 60 days are your more engaged users. Can we, do you want to send out a survey to them? or the converse of that is you want to find out all the people who've never logged in, or who've logged in a long time, and see if you want to get them to take a survey. And you can also kind of segment on points and completes and a whole bunch of things and say we want to really kind of be creative over here. I don't think most of this actually really, at least in the initial stages, applied to you as much. Only if your panel database becomes really large do most of these things really make sense. And you go through this process. This is the other part that again, we have this idea of subsample selection, which means, if you want to send out a survey, if you have 2,000 people or 5,000 people in your database, and you really don't want to send out a survey to all of them, and they all matched your criteria, and you say, well, I don't want to send out a survey to all 5,000 of them because I'm going to be running 3 surveys this month. What I would like to do is to kind of divvy that up so that we can actually have 1,500 completes from each of those, instead of over surveying them, because it's kind of irritating to get probably 3 surveys from an end user standpoint. So if you have a large enough database, you could then say, well, I'm only going to send it out to 10% of my selection criteria. You can say, I want, in this case, there's not much data in the database, but basically you would limit the number of users who get the survey, who get the invitation, to some artificial limit below, that's below the selection criteria. And then that's it. And then you get the final preview, and then hit the submit button, and that, in this case, we gotta get this subsample. Hold on. Over there, I set up the subsample. Go through this process. I don't want to do the subsample selection and then the process delivery. So I would have gotten, I think me and Mark are the 2 guys over here in this database. So yeah, Mark, you would have gotten an email, and I would have gotten an email too. So.
All right, I'll take it this afternoon.
So yeah, both of us would have gotten emails. So these are the 2. So that's the part of the other thing, is that currently, again, this goes back to our double opt-in conversation. So we do not obviously send out an email to the guys who have not verified their email address. And Mark gets verified automatically because obviously he's the owner of the account, so he's there. So anybody with status of verified, that's why we have 2. Although we have 3. Although you can see there are 3 people, 3 registered users, but only 2 of them would have gotten the email to take the survey. That's obviously because we filter out the status and say we are only going to send out email to verified users, and that goes to our double opt-in conversation from there on.
I just have a quick question. So when they are verified through our study, they will have completed the profile and the initial study. So we don't have to send out another email inviting them to complete the study. Or do you recommend an email blast to everyone, and then an additional email blast to the verified people that have filled out the profile information to then go on, log back in, and complete the first study?
Well, the initial email blast will go out. We will enable double opt-in verification, which means as you upload the 28,000, right? An email will go out to all 28,000 people saying that, hey, click on this link to verify your email address. And then once you click on that link, you'll be taken to the profile page, and you update your profile. Okay. At that point, so theoretically, there'll be a small group of people who will probably click on the link and not fill out the profile. Really, I mean, there's nothing that we can do. And those users will be marked as verified, but their profile is not filled out. So you do have that one. I think it's a very kind of rare and small use case that can happen. By the way, does that answer the question or not?
Sort of. Also, by the way, just FYI, we're going to be doing the 28,000 in batches rather than one blast of 28,000, just so we can monitor what the response rates are, the completion rates are for profiling, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy actually. So you just divvy that up. When you upload the email address, divvy it up into any number of any way you want it, frankly. And this one is real time. So as long as the key thing to remember over here is if this is enabled, this enable double opt-in is enabled as you're uploading email. So if you choose a file, if you choose an Excel spreadsheet and hit the submit button, emails will go out immediately, automatically, for those, however many email addresses Excel spreadsheet.
Okay.
So if you're going to divvy it up into 10K each, then make sure you have 3 files and then upload 3 files. You don't have to do it one after the other. Upload one and then look at the response. And then come back, in a couple of hours and just look at the data. And you'll be able to see the data right here. Come back and say look at the users, and you'll be able to see people coming in. We have this kind of activity process. This is more of kind of just to kind of give you a snapshot of what's going on in real time. Is if you have enough activity going on in the system, and then you can even look at the profile data as it's coming in. So as users sign up, and then they fill out that profile, we'll be able to tell how many people are coming in, what's going on with the system. So you can say, okay, we have 2 people who are verified. How many people have rolled in today? How many people have rolled in last week? And you can get some data in terms of as things are happening. And you can obviously go to the member profile section, and as people start filling out this data, you'll start getting data into the system to figure out what's going on. At least so once you upload the 10K batch, then you can say, okay, here's the 10K batch, and here's the profile for this 10K, and then you upload another 10K and see what goes on after that.
Okay.
Let me see. Did we cover almost everything?
I think that Mark and I are good. It's going to be just a matter of us getting in there, really, and that's going to happen today and tomorrow for sure. We're going to be intensely working on this. So I think that for the most part, it'll just be us, readily every once in a while, just getting some verification if we're looking at some things right. But it seems like it's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We are very excited about using this new tool.
Yep, us too.
This is fantastic.
So, glad to have you guys on board.
Great.
Again, we're fairly open in terms of kind of conversing and kind of understanding kind of challenges. I definitely like there were 2 things that you brought up in terms of limitation of liability with respect to points. We've not necessarily thought through that much. I think that's a great point that you guys brought up that I actually didn't probably think about it. Primarily because no one really asked for me for it. So I think that we can probably develop some systems, develop kind of some processes and models around kind of expiry dates and or other things that definitely has my head spinning, at least to some extent now, to figure out how we can answer that question. And then if things come up, Radley and I are here. We're here to kind of support you guys to figure out what needs to happen. So we're definitely.
Hey, Radley, can you make sure that you forward all of the contact information for Vivek for us? That way we also have his information on file should we need to be more technically specific.
Not a problem.
And that would be great.
I will do that. Sure.
All right, guys.
This has been very, very helpful, and we appreciate it. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
All right. Okay.